You are watching AITV. AITV, connecting the diaspora. You are watching AITV. AITV, connecting the diaspora.
Gentlemen, it is the one and only Mr. Cristiano Ronaldo! What a reception! The living legend, it's Cristiano Ronaldo! Right then, ladies and gentlemen, if I can have your attention. Guys, we need calm. We want to hear this man speak. It gives me great pleasure to now hand over to my esteemed colleague. It is Marjan Faridouni. She is the Chief Experience Officer of Dubai
Cristiano.
Expo.
No. Thank you.
Wow, Cristiano, Dubai loves you.
Thank you very much.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, girls and boys. Thank you for being here with us at Expo, at the heart of the Expo Al Wasl Plaza. It is my absolute pleasure to be here with all of you and with one of the greatest footballers in the world. Cristiano, welcome to Dubai, welcome to Expo, welcome to Al Wasl Plaza.
Thank you.
Cristiano, people have been waiting for you. They are so excited. Around us here physically and virtually on Virtual Expo, they're waiting not only to see you, but also to hear from you. So are we ready to hear from Cristiano? So please have a seat, Cristiano. And we're going to start our conversation. So let's start. Cristiano.
They're not gonna listen, eh?
So, can we start with the first question? Cristiano, you've been in Dubai for some time. How do you like Dubai? What are some of your thoughts?
Well, first of all, I have to say thank you to all of them for coming here. I didn't expect that will be so many people, but thank you. But Dubai, as people know, I love Dubai because they treat me unbelievable. I love the people, I love the culture, and I coming here every year, so it's nice. It's nice to be here, and I have to say thank you to all of them.
And we welcome you to Dubai all the time. And Dubai, as I said, loves you so much, as you can see from your fans here. So, my second question is, before we came up in this beautiful stage to welcome everybody, we went around the Expo site. Was there anything about what you saw that made an impression on you when we went around?
Of course, yes. I think Dubai, they do unbelievable work to make all these countries together, 192 different cultures, different mentalities. So it's great. I think it don't surprise me, to be honest, because Dubai, they always bring something in a table unique, different, and it's spectacular. so don't surprise me. But in terms of what they did, the expo here for the first time, it's amazing to put all cultures together to learn by each other. I think it's fantastic.
Thank you, and we have a majority of these countries represented here in your fans. So my third question to you, Cristiano, is, as we discussed, Expo focuses on Do we want to hear from Cristiano? So, Expo focuses on gathering nations, 192.
Difficult to understand you. Will be difficult.
Yes,
It's okay.
we'll play along. So, Cristiano,
Let's they do it the question, please. Okay, wait.
Okay.
Wait.
Let's hear from Cristiano because he has many messages for you. So one thing that we're doing here in the Expo, Cristiano, is to talk about things that matter to everyone. And this week happens to be the week of health and wellness. And we want to encourage everyone of all backgrounds, nationalities, especially the young people and the younger generation, to understand what matters to them, to inspire them to do change. The person that you are, Cristiano, the role model that you are, what is the advice or the tip that you give people here today and around the world on what changes that they can do to make the world a better place?
Well, first of all, I think this message should be for all of the people, not only here, but all the people who can have the opportunity to hear my advice or my opinion on what I do in my life. So, as you mentioned, especially for the kids that will be the next generation. As you know, I have 4 kids. I'm waiting for 2 more. So I want...
Congratulations.
Thank you. And as you mentioned, the health is the most important thing. And you have to take care of our body, our mind, spiritual way as well. It doesn't matter about cultures or religions because we are all the same. So, I mean, to teach the boys how to take care of the body, to drink well, to sleep well, to training, to listen to their fathers, to give good advice. I think it's about to follow the example. As you know, I'm gonna do 37 soon, and I'm still play.
37 younger.
Exactly, because, you know, I treat good my body, you know, I take care of my body. Doesn't matter the age. It matter what you give to your mind and your body. And what I have to say to this young generation, it's believe in themselves, listen to the fathers, try to educate them themselves, learn much as they can, because, you know, we are all equal. We are human beings, so we have to give example, our generation, older generation, to the smallest one. So what I advise to them, it's take care of his body and listen the fathers.
So I hope everybody heard those key messages. Listen to your parents, take care of yourself, believe in yourself, which is really important. Cristiano, you mentioned that you're going to turn 37 very soon. And you've been playing football professionally for around 20 years or more. Expo is about technology, about innovation. Is there any technology that has helped you to maintain your fitness, to improve your fitness, to help you in your practice? So how do you work with technology to help you to be the player that you are?
Well, definitely the technology helps a lot help me, help all the people here, all the world. And I think we have to take advantage of that, but don't be upset with that as well. For example, I can give you a small impression. For example, I have my oldest kid, Cristiano. He's gonna do it 12 years old. And he asked me every time, Daddy, can I have the phone? Can I have a phone? Can I have a phone? I say, Cristiano, you have time. But I know as well that this young generation, they are one step ahead of when I had their age. So we have to take advantage of that, I agree. But not to be upset about the technology. To give them, but with a period of time, not give them all the time. I think it's the main point here.
Absolutely. So, Cristiano, our time together is coming to a close, unfortunately. So, before we go, what is your final message to all the girls and to all the boys here in Expo, in the heart of Expo, Al Wasl Plaza? What would you like to send a message to everyone here, but also everyone virtually who have joined us, but also the world?
Guys, let's listen now with carefully, because what I'm going to say now, it's coming from the bottom of my heart. I didn't expect when I come on guys, let's listen. I didn't expect when this platform coming up that to see many of these people here waiting for me. I didn't expect, to be honest. So this is, you guys, you are my motivation to carry on to play football. Because without you guys, it's the football or will be less, because we're guided by the fans, and just to feel that the warmth that you give to me, the motivation, the love, make me feel so proud, and I don't have words to express myself more than that, but I have to say thank you, all of you, to coming here to listen a few words from my mouth. I know that you expect more, but sometimes the most important, it's the short time that we appreciate. Sometimes we have a long time, but you don't expect what we feel. And what I have to say now, it's thank you very much to be here, to give this love, and I appreciate it a lot. Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone, for coming.
Thank you very much, Marjan and Cristiano Ronaldo, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you, guys.
Cristiano. Cristiano, we have some young fans who would love to get a photo opportunity. And what a selfie that is. Maybe just the best selfie anywhere on the planet. Fantastic. Cristiano, we have 7 very, very lucky young fans who are waiting for you to give them the ultimate souvenir. These 7 young fans chosen at random right here at Expo 2020 Dubai today. And Cristiano will just give them the ultimate souvenir from what has been a pretty special day. Did you enjoy that, ladies and gentlemen? Cristiano Ronaldo here at Expo 2020 Dubai. What a gentleman. He speaks with passion. He speaks with serenity. He speaks his truth. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. And that signature It's a beautiful one. These young fans, it's a day that they will never, ever forget. I sincerely hope that that is the case for each and every one of you. A massive thanks once again to Marjan Faridouni as well, the Chief Experience Officer here at Expo 2020 Dubai. Thank you, Marjan. Just got a couple of more to sign. These young fans will never, ever forget it. Cristiano Ronaldo, what a legend, what an icon of football, the beautiful game. He loves each and every one of you. And it is the last one. And Cristiano will bid farewell. Final picture. Cristiano. Okay, he's going in. He's going to sign some autographs. What a legend he is. Cristiano Ronaldo. 7 times he has won the Dubai Globe Soccer Awards. She's going to pose for a photo here. 5-time Ballon d'Or winner as well, lest we forget. He's achieved it all. I wonder, the big one, the FIFA World Cup later this year in the Middle East. That's the one that he's looking to add to his collection. And Cristiano, I will ask that Cristiano can come back onto the stage. Cristiano, if you can come back onto the stage. Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, one more time. One more time, ladies and gentlemen. He is the legend, the icon. He is CR7. He is Mr. Cristiano Ronaldo! Guys, if I can please ask that you step off. We're here, and they're stepping in. Okay, guys, from myself, Chris McCarty, from the organisers here at Expo 2020 Dubai, we thank each and every one of you for your patience and your time. I know Cristiano greatly appreciated it. And Cristiano, your last message to the crowd, one more message.
Thank you, Dubai. Thank you. Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Thank you so much, guys. Stay safe. Thank you, each and every one of you, so much. Expo 2020 Dubai.
We have to clear everything so that we can have a better economy. They want to solve the problem. Let's start with that. Doctor, good evening.
A very good evening to you, David, and to all the viewers that have joined in, wherever they are joining in from, to be with us in this show. You see, David, the question you're asking about the chaos in Kampala city is a question you can ask about the chaos that we live in nearly every aspect of human endeavor in our country. Whether it is the institutions of government, it's not just KCCA. KCCA is an urban authority, but go to any local government in Uganda, go to any state institution, whether it's the judiciary, whether it's parliament. You may have seen some very nasty features in our parliament, people fighting and throwing all kinds of things at each other. That chaos that marks the situation in our country is indeed the symbol of the crisis that we are talking about, a crisis that cuts across, a crisis that is in the economy, that is in the social sector, education, health, environment, whatever you name it, in the cultural institutions, it's a crisis that is, like a pandemic. It's a crisis pandemic in our country. Now, the origin of this is what is important to understand, because without understanding where it comes from, it's very easy to get lost in the maze of what has been happening. You see, it all starts with the Ugandans losing control over their country, over having influence in their country. And this, you see, is historic. First of all, it started with the loss of control of our different nations. Uganda is a multinational country.
But
Uganda was a nation. Nkole was a nation. Busoga was a nation. These nations were crushed by external powers and forced to become one nation.
But
so Uganda is the formation of a crisis. The country itself is formed out of a crisis of destruction of indigenous nations and being forcefully united into one nation.
But yeah, Dr. Besigye, I really want to thank you for that submission, but here's the point. Many Ugandans have been yearning for a clean city. Many Ugandans have been looking for a better way of trading, and I think the government is coming out to solve that problem. You and your friend, Mayor of Kampala, Elias Lukwago, are so badly arguing against this move that is helping the economy at least to look better on the international scene and, of course, increase the tourism sector. So what would be your solution? Just imagine you are the president of the country. What would you have done different?
Yes, you will not understand the solution unless you understand the problem. So from before independence, Uganda has had two entities that are diametrically opposed. There are those who capture power in the country, and there are those who are captives in the country. This, without understanding that, you will not understand the chaos in Kampala. So there are people who are very well off, who want to live in clean environments, who want to have clean roads, who want to have, uninterrupted power and so on and so forth. But there are those who have nowhere to live. There are those who have nothing to eat. There are those who are teetering on the margins that have been created by the polity that we are talking about, the injustices that have been compounded over years. So when you say you want to clean Kampala, you want to clean the homeless that you have created. So maybe they should just be killed. That's one way of cleaning the city, getting rid of people they say are causing the city to be dirty and so on. Now, that is not going to be a lasting solution, because the greatest majority of Ugandans are the ones whom you ascribe the filthiness of the city.
Right.
So you have the Kololos, the Nagurus, but you also have the Kivuru, Makerere Kivuru, you have the Katangas of this world, you have the Bwaises, people whose homes flood whenever it rains and everything of theirs is destroyed and so on and so forth. You cannot simply solve that problem by dealing with the symptoms. If you want to solve this problem, you must go to the heart of what created these people that are trying to make a living in a very, very difficult situation.
Yeah, Dr. Besigye, in your opinion, I would like to follow up on the same issue. So what would be the actual cause of the problems that are leading these people to be on the streets?
It is injustice. It is socio-economic injustice. But socio-economic injustice starts with political injustice, that they have no voice. All those people you want to sweep from the city have no voice. And if they had a voice, their money would be used in a way that creates opportunities for them. So you have a country now that provides quality education for very few people, literally no education for the others. So you have a huge knowledge gap in the country. Now, those who have knowledge, who study from good schools, universities abroad, and so on, are controlling the country.
All right.
The other ones who have no capacity. So to end this, you must solve the political problem. The political problem that keeps the majority of Ugandans on the margins. Even those Ugandans who used to live in their villages on their own land has been grabbed. Many people you find in Kampala now are landless.
All right.
They have no other home. So this is not a problem you are just going to solve by an administrative order, by sending soldiers to push them away. It will not go away. You must address the fundamentals, the political injustice that takes away voice from them, then address that will bring them, their voices to the table to say, let's put resources to resolve their problems.
Dr. Besigye, I want to thank you so much. You mentioned a number of things in your submission, and one of them is education. Today, Uganda is now fully open, and students or kids are back to school, which is a good thing for the future of the nation. But there is a high problem of school fees. Parents have been in lockdown for 2 years, and the country has been crying for 2 years or plus. And now, schools are open. They're good to go. Their kids are good to go to school. But the fees are too high. In your opinion, as Dr. Besigye, just in case you were the president of the country, or, technically, maybe let me say the mayor or the head ministry of education, what would you, in your opinion, have done to solve the problem for both the parents and owners of these schools who are facing challenges with loans from banks and a number of other issues? What would be your suggestion to that?
You see, it is all a question of priorities. Uganda which is about nearly 50 trillion shillings. That is somewhere around $13 billion, the budget we have for this year. But the question is, who is being serviced by our money? As we talk, as schools are empty because people cannot pay school fees, you will find that there is a supplementary budget for this year that has already been taken by one home of Mr. Museveni, State House, which is the home of Mr. Museveni. He spends about 1 trillion a year. 1 trillion. In other words, about a quarter of the budget is spent by one home. So if we want to resolve the problem of education, education in the 60s was accessible to all children of Uganda, whether from poor homes, whether for children of the rich, they would go to the same schools depending on your own performance at school. All of them would end in the same schools and would advance up to the extent that your ability to learn would take you. So it is not that we were richer then than we are richer now. There is actually more money now than there was then. The problem is the priorities, where that money is spent. The money now is either spent on wrong priorities, servicing the few people. It is spent on securing the few people that control the state, security. Security
you're talking
of
about
the
the security
state,
of the
not
country,
security
correct?
of the people.
You're talking about the security of the country, correct?
Security of the state, security of those in power, not of the country. Security for people, the money they use to bribe politically so that they get support, the money they use to hire all the militias that guard their power and beat anybody who opposes them. That is where the money is spent rather than spending it on education. So if those people who cannot access education, if their voices could be heard, in other words, if they lived in a democratic country, then they would cause the allocation of money to their priorities.
All right.
Education would have more money. Health would have more money. The small businesses that were destroyed by COVID and so on would be attended to now. Instead, you'll find that when they talk about post-COVID support,
right,
it is going to the big people that have bank accounts that can access money in the Uganda Development Bank. So the priorities will not change unless ordinary people get power.
Dr. Besigye, thank you so much. And of course, some of the questions I'm asking you are coming from real people out there who watch most of our programs and who follow your activities back in Uganda, especially to be broad in the opposition. But most importantly, Uganda right now is also facing another big challenge. That's the fuel prices getting as high as never before. And one of the biggest interesting stories here, and I'm happy that you're with me today, is that you're one of the few lucky Ugandans who happen to own a franchise in this oil and gas industry. Now, I want to ask you a question. It's a little bit kind of personal, but did you rip big in this crisis because the prices were high as you an investor in this kind of business? First, give me that answer, yes or no?
Well, first of all, I hope your understanding of what a franchise is the same as mine. If it is, definitely I own no franchise of any description, whether in the oil sector or in any other sector. The business that is widely talked about, where I relate with the fuel, is that I am a dealer. A dealer is a tenant. I rent one petrol station from Total. At a petrol station at Zambia. It belongs to Total. I only manage it. They bring their fuel. They determine the price at the pump. They determine the price at which I buy it myself. They determine price I buy it, price I sell it. On that petrol station of Zambia. That's the only petrol station that I am a tenant of.
All right.
And so I do not have any control about prices. But the prices in fuel,
yes,
is part, as I have been saying, of the bigger crisis. First of all, a landlocked country like Uganda should be having a fuel reserve, a large fuel reserve that is capable of taking care of any shocks, any supply shocks, because there can be shocks from all kinds of things. You can have disruption in supply from the coast to Kampala caused by all kinds of things. So any reasonable government must have a reserve. That reserve too could be used to mitigate, to reduce the risks of price fluctuations that are caused by instability on the world market. So if the price is very high, you can stop importing and be using the reserve until the prices go down. Or when the prices are very low, you stock your reserves.
All right.
So any reasonable country should be having a reserve. Regrettably, when this problem that we are having now surfaced,
Right.
it became clear that in Uganda we did not have a reserve of even 1 liter of fuel.
Dr.
The second problem with fuel is the tax on every liter of fuel. As we talk, the tax on every liter of fuel is close to 2,000 shillings. Now, so if the fuel is 4,000 shillings, almost half the price is tax. So the controller of price is the government that imposes tax. Even for those who have franchises, like, the oil companies and all those who import oil, what determines the price at which they sell is the tax that the government applies on the fuel. Yeah. And high taxation cripples the economy.
All right.
So what should be done by any reasonable government, especially for diesel, which goes in transportation of goods, in the industry, diesel should be taxed as low as possible.
But
when you do that,
right,
actually government gets higher tax than when the tax is very high.
So sure, and I want to thank you, but here comes a point where even in the United States where we are today, the prices last year were $1, $2. Right now a gallon is $3, $4. So it looks like it's a global problem that the prices are high. But for Uganda's case, I want to ask you this: would you agree with me if I say that the prices are so high because of the border conflicts between Uganda and Rwanda, between Uganda and Kenya? Could that be the reason? Would you agree with me?
It is not one reason. That's the point I was making. The fluctuation of prices on the world market is one reason. And that's what I was telling you, that should be mitigated by having reserve. Similarly, the supply routes, the supply lines of the country should be protected by having reserves, so that if there is any shock, and shock can come from anything. You could have a volcano going off in Kenya. You can have riots going on in Nairobi where the fuel passes. You can have all kinds of things. So the country must have a reserve on which to draw when there are shocks in its supplies. Similarly, when there are shocks in the prices, you see, the United States, which you are talking about, actually has, I think, the lowest fuel pump price literally in the whole world. And yet, United States imports fuel from the same places that we import that fuel. What you are talking about, in the United States, you'll find that a gallon of fuel is less than $2. Right. What is the price of a gallon of fuel now in the United States?
It's 3.99, some is 2.98, so it depends on the location or the state.
Precisely. So now it has gone to 3 point something per gallon. A gallon has 4 liters of fuel. Right. 4 liters plus of fuel. So in the United States, you are buying fuel less than $1 per liter, much less than $1 per liter. Here, today, fuel is the cheapest, is about 5,000 shillings, which is about $1.40. And United States has far more rich people than we are. So if United States is selling fuel at half the price of Uganda, why should Uganda, which wants to stimulate the economy, that goods are moving, that you have, because fuel impacts every aspect of the economy.
Correct.
So fuel should, the tax is the difference.
All right.
Fuel should have been taxed much less in Uganda.
Sure, Dr. Besigye, I want to thank you, and please stay on. To our viewers, we want to thank you so much for watching AITV, the Epic Front, and of course being part of this special talk with the Dr. Kizza Besigye. The economy is like the way he has explained it, and more of that is yet to come. But we want to focus now on the political point of it. Could be that politics could be the reason why Uganda is facing these challenges. In his earlier talk, he mentioned about how the government, poor governance is leading to all that we see, the economic crisis that Uganda is facing. But now I want him to answer to many Ugandans the questions of disunity within the opposition, the complicated situations within both the government and of course the opposition, and they are the leaders who lead different movements. We know of Honorable Robert Chagunya leading the National Unity Platform and the People Power Movement, Dr. Besigye now leading the Red Card, the Front. So, but there is a lot of complicated situations in the country where these organizations are fighting against each other, and I'm sure Dr. Besigye will have an answer for all these questions that many of you have been asking. But let me ask Dr. Besigye for now, before we get into the political points, I would like to know, when you look at the situation in the country today regarding COVID-19, you're one of the few lucky Ugandans who knew how important it was to take the virus very seriously. Do you think Uganda is having some kind of progress? Because when you look at United Kingdom, they have opened up their country. Now it's going to start being a mask-free nation. In the United States here, things are still a little bit tight. We're still putting on masks because of Omicron and of course Delta and COVID-19. But for Uganda's case, Dr. Besigye, you talked so much about it. Do you see any progress in the activities government is doing to address the COVID crisis?
Well, David, first of all, let me say that the impact of COVID on Africa, not just Uganda, has been much less than we have witnessed in the developed world. The reason for this is a number of issues. First of all, Africa has the youngest population in the world. In Uganda, the population above 60 years is only 3%. In the United States, in Europe, in most of the Asian countries, the percentage of people above 60%, above 60 years, is 20% and above. This is the population that is most vulnerable to the COVID disease.
Right.
And yes, and therefore, by sheer numbers, by not having many vulnerable people in Africa, we have not had a lot of deaths and a lot of hospitalizations like those who have higher populations. Secondly, in Africa, we generally have higher immunity in the body because we live in a very highly infested country with all kinds of infections. And so, even as growing up, every child is eating soil, eating insects, or crawling on the ground, in the mud. We build a lot of immunity as we grow up. And so, it seems that we have not been as vulnerable in terms of getting serious disease as those who live in aseptic conditions, conditions that are sterile, that are sterilized generally. Thirdly, in Africa, most people live in the open air. In Europe, especially in winter like now, and where you are in the United States and so on, everybody lives inside the houses. Everybody moves by mass transportation in the trains, underground trains and buses and so on, all of which are air conditioned. The air is circulating. And so the spread of the virus is much more facilitated in the developed world than in Africa, where everybody lives alone and in the open without air conditioning. So that's why generally Africa has fared much better than the developed world in this pandemic. Now, coming to Uganda, the government has been presenting a false image that it performed well in controlling the pandemic. That's not true. The virus arrived in Uganda in March 2020. By end of August, 5 months, we had reached stage 4, the last stage of transmission, of the levels of transmission in the pandemic, which is called wide-scale transmission, community transmission, wide-scale community transmission. We reached that after 5 months. And once you reach that, all the measures that were there being applied earlier, contact tracing and all kinds of things of trying to limit the spread of the virus are no longer effective.
All right.
So we have survived really by the grace of God, not because we have taken the right measures to control the pandemic.
Sure, Dr. Besigye, thank you so much for your submission and on the issue of the pandemic. And I think the world is watching, and of course they've picked a lot from it, based from the right person, a doctor who has been there and been studying all as it appears. But Dr. Besigye, the biggest question we have now is the political point of it. The country, Uganda, has so many political organizations with different ideas, but all, in most cases, especially those in the opposition, their aim is to overthrow the President Museveni's government. Today, as we're discussing now, earlier on we saw I would say your son, who I may think, if I'm right or wrong, you may let the world know, he calls you uncle, General Muhoozi Kainerugaba, going out to Rwanda to speak with the president of Rwanda, Paul Kagame, and recently also saw him in Kenya. This sends a message out there that President Museveni is so serious on the project of employing his son to become the next president. But we are going to come up to that. Let me go straight to the issue of opposition. You are a member, you've been there since at least the 1990s, the late 1990s, and you've seen so many political players coming in and leave. But most importantly today is that last year, Honorable Robert Kyagulanyi, towards the end of the year, on the 31st, released a statement, and I quote, it says, "The challenge has always been dishonesty in some cases and inconsistency in other cases. Some actors have clearly placed personal interests ahead of the national interest. There are many lessons we have learned in trying to forge this unity, most of which we do not make public because of giving certain details, and it can easily lead to further mistrust and suspicion." Now, this message was addressing the disunity within the opposition. According to you, Dr. Besigye, you've been a political player in this game for so long. Why is it up to today the country politically cannot have a united opposition? Dr. Besigye.
Well, David, first of all, as I pointed out at the beginning of our conversation, talking about opposition and the government is rather misleading. It suggests that there is a government that is elected, and there are those who are not elected who form a political opposition. And that, you know, in parliament, there is the government side and the opposition side. This is totally misleading. Uganda has never chosen anybody and raised that person to lead the country since independence. Every leader of our country came to office using guns. Ugandans have never voted anybody out of office. Every leader that has left office was removed by guns. So Ugandans do not have power to bring anybody to office or to remove him.
But
at least
vote.
In the last 59 years, we are coming to 60 years. No leader has been brought to office by Ugandans. No leader has been taken out of office by the vote of Ugandans. Every leader who got power, got it by force. Every leader who left power, left by force. So let's first agree that Ugandans have no power to bring anybody to office or to remove that person. If you are operating from that premise, then you cannot talk about a government, an elected government, and an opposition. But what happens in Uganda is that power is captured. And I told you at the beginning that therefore what we have are captors, those who capture, and captives, those who are captured. That is the correct terminology. You are either a captor or you are a captive.
But Dr. Besigye, this may seem like a layman's question, but the point is we do have in Parliament of Uganda there is a leader of opposition and then there is a leader of government business. That tells the public that, of course, you people in the opposition may disagree with the point that you have opposition in the country, but what you do in action shows that you believe there is opposition. How would you differ from the rest of people who have such a thought?
There is what is called a facade, what looks like. And what we have today is a comprehensive facade, a show that there is even parliament. Does that parliament have any power? It doesn't. And Mr. Museveni himself has been upfront in saying if they continue causing problems, he can abolish them. They have no power. They sit by being allowed to sit by those who captured power. And if we don't get to grips with those fundamentals, we get lost. If we think that actually there is a democracy, there are elections, there is this, we get lost. So there is a military junta that captured power. I was part of it. I came to Kampala from the bush with a gun. We issued a decree in 1986,
right,
which said, whereas on this day, the 26th of January 1986, the National Resistance Army has captured the power of state of Uganda. It is now hereby vested in the National Resistance Movement. So the power in Uganda was captured. It is captured. But what must go on? What the struggles, and so later on they created a facade, the facade I'm talking about, and it is the creation of that facade that some of us protested. Because the reason some of us abandoned our professions and indeed went to fight was because we thought we could defeat the guns that had captured our country,
all right,
and then hand over that power to the people of Uganda.
All right, Dr. Besigye.
That is what has failed up to now.
Dr. Besigye, that takes me back to the question I started with on this political segment. There is a lot of disunity within the opposition, and I believe you agree with me. I started with reading for you the statement that was released on December 31st, 2021 by one of the few candidates,
yes,
former presidential candidates.
You don't have to belabor it.
Or
you don't have to belabor it.
So what is causing the disunity in the opposition that is now trying to become as a crisis in the country?
So, first of all, those who are listening or viewing us on this program,
right,
understand this. When few people hoard large numbers of people captive, like the British held Ugandans for 70 years captive. These ones have now lasted 36 years. When few people hold many people captive, they use especially four tools to keep them in captivity. If we want to get out of captivity, we must overcome the tools that are used to keep us in captivity. The first one is fear. They inculcate fear in all our heads by terrorizing those who are captives. And this is what has been going on. Secondly, because they hoard all the wealth of the captives, they use money that they control over the country to give favors to some of the captives and to use those same captives against their fellow captives by giving them favor. These people you see calling themselves ministers, they are also captives, but who have been brought and given some favors to work for the captors. The same thing as those who you see in parliament, whether on the NRM side, whether on the opposition side, they are all captives. So they use patronage, favors. Thirdly, they use control of information and propaganda. And that's why they will not allow, whether it is Chamulani, whether it is myself, whether it is anybody raising a different view for people to understand their situation, they will not allow them to speak even on a radio station. They will not allow you to hold a political rally and talk to the people. So that they keep the people informed only by themselves and their propaganda. No. Lastly, the fourth way they keep us in captivity is divide and rule. This was done by the British. It has been done by all successive governments. Any group, any small group that holds a large group of people hostage will cause divisions amongst them.
All right.
Some of what you call political parties that you think are on the opposition can actually be created by those who are holding you captive. And you know, they were about 40 registered political parties.
Right.
Now they are about 20 something. Some of those are actually formed by the captors themselves. And they use all kinds of ways to create divisions amongst the captives so that they don't unite to become a powerful force that can overcome them.
But Dr. Besigye, you and your opposition seem to understand these problems. At least for the last 10 years, the opposition has been talking about these problems, who and how the NRM government is trying to divide the opposition. What have you done in the opposition? Especially, you've come up with different movements over time. But what do you think you as opposition have to do different this time to us President Museveni? Because you know the problem, you know how the problem is manifested, but you don't have any solution. What could be the solution that you could share with others?
For the last, at least since 2011, on my own part, and those that I have been associated with, we have been focusing on doing three things. Because first of all, we were completely convinced that in this captive situation, where the captors are the ones that claim to organize elections for captives to vote them out, that in such a situation, an election will not cause change. This has been extremely clear amongst us since 2011. And therefore, we have to do three things if we want to cause change. The first thing is for the population, for a large number of our people to understand this dynamic that I am talking about. Because many don't understand it. Many don't know that they are even captives. There is the debate. There are some who think, no, we actually have power. So we have to have a conversation like we are having until a large number of people appreciate and agree on what the problem itself is. So part of the discussions you see amongst what you call the opposition are discussions to cause us to have a common understanding of what the problem is. You may have seen or heard coming up to the last election a discussion about whether elections can cause the change.
Right.
And some people indeed, including my brother Robert, was saying, no, we know democracy works. Elections can work. And we were saying, no, they won't work. So once you are not agreed on what the problem is, there is nothing, you cannot unite to deal with it.
All right. Dr.
So we must have a conversation first to cause us to agree on what the problem is, to cause us to agree on, therefore, if this is the problem, what is the solution? How do we get rid of it? So that we have a common understanding of what the solution is. If we have a common understanding on all these two, then we are united. Then we can move against the problem. And these are the dynamics that have been going on.
All right, Dr. Besigye, it seems like, based on your argument, it seems like you've had discussions before. It's going to be a yes or no question, no answer. Did it, at any one time, the opposition, more specifically, the National Unity Platform, ever reach to you during the 2021 general elections to speak with you and say, sir, we need to join hands and have only one candidate to fight against President Museveni this time? Did they ever come to you, yes or no?
I had some interruption. I hope that question you asked was whether the Unity Platform and myself had a discussion about how to deal with the 2021 situation.
Yeah, just present one candidate. Did they ever come to you to speak with you and say, sir, maybe you can support Robert Kyagulanyi, or Robert Kyagulanyi can support you, and just have one candidate to represent? Is it true or no? Because in his statement, he said there was a time when they reached out to all of you in different capacities, but there were mistrust and suspicions. So I want to ask you a question, yes or no? Did they ever come to you to agree on such a situation?
No, the answer is simply no. But we had, you see, when you ask a yes or no question, you run a risk. We had deep and comprehensive discussions about how to deal with the impending election, amongst which, as I have been telling you, was whether an election itself, even before you talk about a candidate in the election,
right,
whether an election, whether you have one or two candidates, whether an election is the best way. We had these conversations, or whether we need to organize differently. And as you may indeed recollect, I think it was somewhere around April of 2020, we jointly launched what was called the United Forces of Change. Now, the United Forces of Change, which we negotiated for quite some time, was aimed at taking actions that can cause change apart from elections, outside elections. But as I have pointed out, even though we came to that, I think the focus of most of the people, and not just in the Unity platform, also in FDC and other parties, were focused on the elections. Because you see, part of the problem, and elections are very subversive actually to getting change. Because the reason elections are quite subversive to getting change is that with the economic problems we talked about earlier, political posts, political jobs are now the most paying jobs in the country. A member of parliament earns about 5 times more than a medical consultant earns, and gets fuel, gets a free vehicle worth 200 million. Medical doctors are on foot. So because they have created these political jobs as dangling attractions, many of our people are not get diverted between focusing on ending the regime or occupying these lucrative positions within the regime. And that makes it very difficult, especially if you are near an election. It makes it very difficult to focus people to work for the end of the military rule outside the elections. Many people cannot simply see how they can get diverted from fighting to occupy a seat in parliament, become a mayor, become a councillor, become all these things that are very, very attractive. So, although we had discussions about how to deal with 2021 elections,
right,
the greatest majority of people in all parties, not just in the Unity platform, were not very interested in this discussion. And that's why for me, I pulled back completely and let that motion first be completed, because I understood it indeed that even without the pandemic, which made it even more complicated, I understood it that it would end the way it has ended before. There was nothing at all that was different.
All right. Dr. Besigye, I thank you for that submission. But one last question or two that I have for you is that Uganda faces another problem, especially the reason why I'm focusing on the opposition is because of 2 reasons. One, Ugandans have just celebrated 1 year since January 2021 elections. And number 2, opposition seems not to have the key factors that make a good governance. And one of them is accountability, transparency, and of course focus on the main goal. So would you agree with me that actually the opposition is a big problem to Uganda's success today?
Well, first of all, as I pointed out, and I will continue doing so, I protest the characterization of Ugandans as opposition and the government.
Right.
The captives, whom you call opposition, yes, have a problem of leadership. There is absolutely no problem, no doubt. In fact, you may have heard me really saying that we are the problem. The elites amongst the captives, the ordinary people understand, the ordinary people are united even. The ordinary people have no problem, they are ever united. Their problem, they understand it. They understand even how to get rid of it. It's the leadership challenge that keeps us where we are. And as I have said, it's not unique to Uganda. It's not unique to this period of our country. It has been there all these years.
All right.
That's why we must, deliberately focus on it. And that's what we are trying to do. What you call the front, the red card front, or the People's Front for Transition. What it is aimed at is getting everybody that wants change to focus on the crisis, not on ourselves, not on anything. Let's focus, let's unite around this crisis. Let's surround the crisis and let's have a conversation about this crisis first. And that's why the Red Card Front has produced 3 documents. The first one was the crisis, so that we have a discussion and agree whether this is the crisis, that we are captives. That is the essence of that crisis, that we are captives, and that therefore an election organized by our captors will not free us. We need, first of all, agree on this, understand each other on this. But secondly, once we have understood the crisis, let's understand how we can organize ourselves to achieve unity. And we published a document called the Front, the name now, it's
right.
framework of the Front for Transition, which talks about how we can unite, organize against the problem. Thirdly, we published a document called the Transition, Agenda for Transition. Because to get out of all this, first of all, we must defeat the military regime, the military junta. We must get it out of power. And once we do, there has to be a process of transition, and where Uganda reorganizes. As I told you at the beginning of this program, Uganda was forced to become one country. We must, in the transition, recreate what had been attempted in 1962. Have a conscious agreement of how we, the nations of Uganda, can live together and now enforce our agreement. So we must make a new constitution that is made now by free citizens, because even in 1995, the reason the constitution of 1995 has not lasted is because the people who made it did not have power. They were still captives.
Dr. Besigye, thank you so much.
So we must defeat captivity, make a transition to a democratic dispensation.
Yeah,
that's the agenda of the front.
Yeah, thank you so much for actually highlighting that. But that leaves me with a question, Doctor. You say you want to unite all forces that want to see change. But recently, actually immediately when you released the document, or when you released the front to the people of Uganda, now the main opposition party, the National Unity Platform, disagreed. They said, let them do what they want to do, we'll do our thing. Now, that's the reason why I ask you about disunity within your camps. How can you best assure Ugandans that this time your organization is so well praised?
As I pointed out.
Right. Go ahead, sir.
As I pointed out to you, we are simply agents. The people of Uganda are yourselves, you are there. You make the choice whether you want to get out of captivity. All we are doing is simply to exchange information. Nobody has control over anything. We just provide information, provide suggestions of how our situation can become better, and it's up to Ugandans to reach a critical mass of people that think in the same direction. As I pointed out, it's not possible to have everybody on board.
Right.
And if we have made a proposal, like I have said, of how we can get out of captivity, I guess the Unity platform will also make a presentation to all of us about how we should get out of captivity. And if we find that both are concurring, the point I was making to you about understanding the crisis, if our understanding of the crisis is the same, if our understanding of how we get rid of the crisis is harmonized, then we all move together. But even if that does not happen, the Ugandans who are starving, the Ugandans whom, as I have told you, are now being pushed out of the towns, pushed out of existence. These Ugandans have a duty themselves. They don't have to depend on me, on the Honorable Kyagulanyi or anybody. The Ugandans who want to survive will at some stage say no, enough is enough, as we have seen in other countries. So all we are doing is everybody to try and offer ideas, and that's the best that we can do. Offer ideas, try to offer leadership along those ideas, so that, because if we are agreed on the problem, I don't really know why we should not agree on how we can get rid of this problem, all of us. Some people have been suggesting that maybe the problem is that we are selfish, we want to be leaders. Absolutely not. When I left my medical profession to go to the bushes in Ruwero, I did not believe that I would even come out of Ruwero alive, let alone becoming a political leader. Where I left my hospital job in Nairobi at the time, I was earning a lot of money that I have never earned since, you know. So I at least can tell you without the slightest form of contradiction, fear of contradiction, that once we agree on what the problem is, how we can get rid of it, I have never sought leadership. I don't need anybody. All I need is to live in a country where I have freedom, where I have equal opportunities, and where I can go about my business as freely as possible. I wouldn't like to be bothered, having all kinds of troubles that are associated with the leadership, the kind of troubles that we have lived in all these years. So I am optimistic myself. Struggles take a long time.
Doctor,
it's a learning process. It's a learning process because, as I told you, Uganda is a very, very young country. People who are now very active politically were born in the last 20 years. And these don't know a lot of what we are talking about that we have gone through. So that is also a challenge. We have to keep on talking and informing each other and sharing experiences until we get a critical mass of people that can free themselves.
All right.
And have a transition to a democratic dispensation.
Dr. Besigye, I want to thank you so much for addressing most of these questions. But on this show, we have people who watch us on Facebook, apart from those who watch us locally here or from Brazil. And I would like to have just at least 2 questions from some of our Facebook viewers who have been so eager to hear from you and, of course, raise some few questions. And one of the questions that has come is, actually, this is a little bit funny, but it's also interesting. When are you planning on coming in the diaspora to talk to these people?
Well, I am talking to them even now. I don't, technology has allowed us to talk to each other without having to cross oceans. But I from time to time pop in the US, and by the grace of God, maybe in the course of this year, I will be in the US at some stage. If there is an opportunity to talk at close quarters, we could talk. Right. As you know, my son has been in Boston studying. He's still going to be there, I think. So I tend to come back and forth, and we should have an opportunity to talk. Sure,
and I'm sure they were looking at having a town hall with you. But let me ask you this. This other question is from Godfrey. Said the problem with Dr. Besigye is while you were strategizing and planning, there are malls in attendance in your camps. So what are you going to do? What are you going to do different to solve these problems of intruders into the strategies you're making? Who send a message back to the person you're trying to oppose?
No, we cannot do anything about them. Fortunately, the strategy we chose for ourselves does not need a lot of secrets that we keep away from the people we want to get out of power. Because we chose a strategy of non-violent struggle. And non-violent struggle means it is action by the population at large. For the population at large to act, you must talk to them. You must get them to understand what they need to do. You cannot do that clandestinely. So that's why whatever we want to do, we go on television and say we are going to do this. And people are not defeated because they don't know what we are going to do. It is because they cannot change the conditions of the people. I told you, our people are so marginalized, so discontented that, you know, there is nothing the government can really do to
address the
change that.
All right. Dr. Besigye, I want to thank you so much for your time. I thank you for coming and speaking with the people, not just in Uganda, but all around the world who follow Uganda's politics. It means a lot, and it's one way in which information can always go out there. But my last question to you, Doctor, before I let you go is, you've suggested a number of things today on this show, but do you think President Museveni, if he hears your message, he can do something in these remaining 3 to 4 years before we get into the next elections?
Well, he's always doing something. He's always doing something against us. And that is not going to change, because his strategy is indeed to dominate, not just Uganda, but to dominate the whole region, actually. That's why our forces are now in Congo. That's why we are ever fighting with Rwanda. That's why our forces are in Sudan. That's why, you know, he wants to dominate the whole region as Museveni and family. You know, that family rule is not going to change.
All right.
And you know, it's a question of how soon we can simply get rid of it. All because right. the pain that it has caused, you know, You are talking about his son moving around now as the shuttle diplomat.
Yes, he's being prepared for the next government.
The education crisis is superintended by his wife. His brother is the one in charge of the wealth and so on. These Ugandans must simply get together and end this. If you think that Museveni will change course, you must be dreaming wherever you are.
Dr. Besigye, I want to thank you so much for having your time with me, and I hope many Ugandans will listen and hear from you. But I think next time, if we get a chance to talk one-on-one, you and I think we may need to address how Uganda can work with the international community, countries like USA, countries like UK, coming in support to work with you to us, President Museveni. But for now, Dr. Besigye, your final words to the world that is watching you right now.
Yes, on that point, there is sometimes always an overemphasis of what foreigners can do. Really, the United States, Britain, and all these Europeans and so on, take a measure at solving the problems of their own countries. They will not be leading in solving ours. We must, the Baganda have a saying that nanyini mufu yakwata awaunya. We must be the ones that will liberate our country. And the sooner we take that responsibility, the better. For me, I have made a decision. I made a decision a long time ago that I will continue doing whatever I can until I am able to live in a free country where I have equal opportunities.
Sure.
I wish you all a happy 2022 year. I wish you prosperity wherever you are, but I wish you all to keep focused on trying to change our country, Uganda, so that it can be a wonderful country that God made it to be.
All right, Dr. Kizza Besigye, I want to thank you so much for your time. It's always a pleasure having you on the Epic Front. And please, always reach out to us so we can have a discussion in case of any progress. AITV is here to talk about African issues and, of course, link United States or the diaspora to Africa. Thank you so much, our viewers. We always appreciate the time you give in. And for members, we've not addressed all the comments from Facebook because we have so many comments coming in, but to try to address all these key issues. And pretty much very soon, just in case we get Dr. Besigye again, he will have to address some of your questions today. But for now, I want to thank you so much for watching Epic Front and AITV. Keep watching our viewers from Brazil, our viewers internationally, and of course, those who are watching us on social media platforms. We thank you so much and have a great night. Dr. Besigye, thank you so much for always being part of the change that Ugandans need to see. Thank you so much. Bye for now.
You are watching AITV. AITV, connecting the
You know, what makes a man? Is it a social construction or is it something else? So Paul, for you, how have you defined masculinity for yourself?
Thank you so much. I just want to give a brief background of what I think what makes a man a man. Mm-hmm. Who is a man? I think a man is an adult male, mm-hmm. I should say. Mm-hmm. But not everybody is an adult. Most men, when you see him physically, he looks a man, mm-hmm. but he's a boy. Actually, the percentage goes to 75%. Most men are still boys. I'm telling you.
How do you distinguish them? Because in an adult male body,
that's exactly where I'm going.
How do you distinguish? Yes,
that's exactly what I'm trying to put. Not everyone in trousers and in suits and ties and with the big bodies and what are men. Some no, they are boys. Most of men stay boys. What makes a man a man? One, a man must accept responsibility. What is responsibility? If I had a girlfriend And maybe as we hey,
dancing.
yeah, no. Well, I'm trying to hide something that we end up having a baby.
Yes.
And then I do not want to take over the responsibilities of a father. If you ever see such a man, he's not a man, he's a boy. A man must accept responsibility from all angles. A man, a seasoned man, I think that is another level. Yeah, let me get there. A seasoned man must have the art of agreeing to disagree and disagreeing to agree. Not always must you be right. Not always must you be saying and taking and dictating all the time. That's a real man. A man must carry his burden. His home, his wife, his children.
So what about the men who don't have a wife, who don't have children? Are they considered men?
They are still boys.
Can I say something?
So I want to come back to that because Yes.
So you're talking to that boy?
Oh.
Okay.
How do you how have you defined manhood for yourself?
For me as well, I think the man who starts from the mindset. However much you have responsibility, we all have responsibilities here to take care of. We have bills. That's considered to be a responsibility. So if you take care of these things from A to Z, and you have a good credit and all that, I think that's not being a man. A man is about your mindset. What do you think? How do you think? How do you present yourself to the opposite gender? How do you present yourself to the society? I think that can define who a man is, you know. And the other thing, the boy here says, okay, he's a legend. I'll call him a legend because I've known him for a long time, you know. I mean, I was watching his shows on TV and all that. But hey, I think a man is about how you present yourself to whoever. Even the boys, the one you call boys, the little ones. If I told this little boy can withstand challenges from the mindset, can give correct ideas, right ideas, that means this. And on the other hand, if this person can take over the clan, take over the household, that's all about the mindset. Because what I think is, according to the society we're in today, the government is the one forcing everyone to take. Some people take responsibilities, you know. So without the government, some people wouldn't have been that responsible they are today. For me as one, what I think is all about the mindset. If your mindset isn't that good, you're not a man. You just have pants on. That's it.
I beg to differ just a little bit.
Go ahead.
Thank you. I think, yeah. I think, young man, I think you are coming. But anyway, to me, you sounded like a teacher who would come in class and say, children, I want you to pass today's exam. I'm giving you, tomorrow's exam. I'm giving you a test tomorrow. Pass, and I want you to all to get 90s. If you don't tell these children where exactly you want them to read and how you want them, to really help them go and get what you want. Of course, somebody will go and read about Maji Rebellion, another one will go read about the cockroach, another one will go and read. But if you give them something that is entangled to what you want, you might get the results you want them to get. Now, the way you are arguing this, you are like that teacher. You're not helping us. You did not pinpoint, but you are just beating around the bush.
So then I want to, that leads me to the next question. So, because both of you answered similarly in that the culture from whence you came impacts what makes a man, do you think that applies, do you think that culture creates what a man is? Is it culture versus nature, and nature versus nurture?
Partially, partly. Why am I saying this? Because if one is not nurtured, actually, if you want to see where somebody comes from, you just see what he does. Somebody bred properly, raised properly, you see him. A man, you'll see a man. Do you know that men don't put on stocks?
What do you mean?
When you
mean
put on
socks?
Socks. They don't put on socks.
Why?
Some put on different colors. They put a red one and a blue one on it. Why? Because it was not nurtured. Some men don't even put on underpants. They were not nurtured. Some men don't know that even men, you have to look good and you present yourself so well in public. They think going to saloon is, luxury. They think dressing up clean. People go have, very dirty underclothing because they were not nurtured. So partly, like you said, where you come from determines who a real man will be.
So when you say, because I asked the question earlier, before I asked the question, you said that to be a man is to be able to have a family and children. And I asked you, is a man who doesn't have a family or who doesn't have a wife and children? You said no, he's still a boy.
And that's where I came from.
Yes,
and that's where I came in.
Yes, and so like we here in the U.S., because we're filming from Boston, Massachusetts. Here in the U.S., we don't have that a man is a man if only when he has a family and children and a wife and all of these things. And this is why I asked. It sounds to me like that's a cultural thing. It's a cultural thing to equate masculinity or manhood to what you have. What happens then when a young man like you, I don't know your family situation, who has yet to acquire a wife, who has yet to have children, or maybe he has a wife but no children, how then do you define his masculinity or his manhood if the totem pole meets here at family and wife and children?
Okay,
Go ahead.
Me, Brother Jing, I'll tell you something. Like you said, I'm a single man. I'm a single man.
Yeah,
but hey,
you're getting there.
It's not that I'm already there. I was there 10 years ago.
So then how do you define yourself as a man? Because you're clearly not using his definition.
Okay.
You're defining yourself as a man. What is your definition that has you say, I am a man because I meet this criteria?
Well, for me, I define myself as a man, and to whoever is out there, that, hey, don't lose hope. You're still a man. So this is my point. Jingo the legend. I'd like to tell you something real quick. Being a man in this generation we're in today, number one, you're gonna be smart. It's like I said, mindset. It's all about the brains. If you can't take care of your money, definitely money can disappear at any time. However much you have, 3 jobs, 4 jobs, you can mess everything up and then you go back to zero. So for me as well, I think a man, according to my brother, a man is somebody who can take care of himself first before the rest come in.
I beg to differ.
Cause first listen, if you don't take care of yourself first, how are you gonna take care of the rest? Okay, let me give you an example. Both of you are drowning.
Give the example from your own life. From your own life.
Okay,
Nobody here is drowning. Yes.
Both of you are drowning, and you wanna save this person. How are you gonna save this person before saving yourself? You're gonna have to save yourself first, then you save this person. So that describes my point that a man, if you wanna be a man, first take care of yourself. Forget about, I'm single now because I've lost, I don't have interest in, I can't get girls. But as a man, I'm setting it up. I'm setting the future for this wife or somebody, right? So what I think a man.
And how are you doing that?
By working on myself, saving for my unknown children that were yet coming, And getting ready for any challenges, be ready to, you know, for anything that comes on my way. Because I see a lot of men, like my brother here was crying some time back. He's a man. He was crying some time back, saying that, hey man, American bills, I gotta go back to Uganda or something like that. But a man doesn't cry. A man don't show tears.
Interesting.
A man keeps going. No matter what happens, a man keeps going. So how make you keep going? You're gonna plan for everything. If you don't plan, you're gonna shed tears like my brother. But as a man, I'm a full grown ass man. Sorry for the language, but I'm a full grown man, right? And like I said, it's all about the mindset. You're gonna be smart to be man. If you're not smart, you'll never be a man. Then you'll be boy like like my legend.
I think we're talking about, we are on two different levels here. He's on his own island, and I think I'm on my own island. He's talking about those, the ones that I call boys. Like I told you in the beginning, that not everybody you see in trousers is a man. Most men stay boys, even at 80. Okay? Why am I saying this? Of course, whatever you said is right and correct. But you have to look to see where your bread is best buttered. At this point in time, we are not looking at somebody who is starting life and preparing for himself to be, maybe to marry or get children or something like that. That he is a man. To me, that one is not man enough. He's not man enough because he has not seen the challenges of being a real man. You don't know what it takes to be a father. Let it be one child. Let it be 2 children. Let it be 3. Or even you don't have children, but you have a wife you take care of. You want to see a smart man? Look at his wife. You want to see a responsible father? Look at his wife and children. You want to see who a real man is? Like you said, you were right when you said that bills are that you have to take care of the bills. That's what makes a man. But that's partially. You have to have a family. And you have to, of course, I know we are in America where people live a single life. That is okay. Of course, you might consider yourself a man, but to me, and me as me alone, I think you are still a boy because you've not seen it all. I have seen it all. I know what it takes to cater for more than 2 children, 2 to 3 children, and a wife, and a nanny or a babysitter. You take care of them in everything, be it medical, being what, be electricity, water, everything.
Right.
And you don't run away from your responsibility. That makes you a man. Then we get to your point where you have to say, how am I looking in public? How do I carry myself as a man? How do I speak in public? How do I encounter problems? How do I, when I'm overwhelmed, how do I calm myself down as a man? Because most men, he's troubled at work, he brings problems home. As a man, how do you condense all that? That's what makes a man. And if you are single, I don't judge you to be a man. You are still a boy in a man's stature.
Let me get to that point. Okay, being a single, you say, is not being a man enough, right? I will tell you something.
A real man.
Okay, it's not a real man.
I am a real man.
Okay, so I was raised by a man himself.
Oh yeah.
He was exemplary. Ooh. Some of our dads are exemplary to us.
Exactly.
If your dad is never exemplary, those are the kids you find on streets. You find like saying life is hard. But some of our male figures in our families, as we were growing, they are good examples to us. So for me, I call myself a man, and everyone out there who was raised the same way like I do, that you're a man. As long as you're raised right, as long as you taught your responsibilities as a man. You might not be taught physically, but see what your father's doing. Your father might come in stressed, hug his wife, your mom, his children and all that. That's being exemplary. You're taking note of this. These are some kind of.
I beg to differ.
So I'm going to interrupt. What you're both sharing, and it's perfect that you're both speaking from your perspective, from your own life walk.
Oh yeah.
Yes, and so one doesn't cancel out the other because the one is not contingent on the other. My question to the both of you: what happens when, for example, for you, Paul, you don't have a man doesn't have people to take care of that you deem worthy of masculinity, such as maybe he's taking care of his parents, his elderly aging parents, and his wife can't have children, but he's taking care of his parents, he's running a company, he's loving up on his wife, his relationships with his male friends they're healthy relationships. According to you, he's disqualified from being a man because he doesn't have children, according to you. And then for you, you said earlier, a man doesn't cry, a man doesn't complain, a man doesn't do this, yeah? What then happens to his emotions when his mother dies? Or when he finds that his wife has cervical cancer and it's stage 4 and there's nothing that they can do? That man is going to cry, but has he lost his masculinity now that he is crying out of sorrow or out of a deep emotion? Because there's, and I'm asking this because there's what's called toxic masculinity that devoids men from being actual human beings who feel, who have emotion, who cry, who mourn and have sorrow. What do you see in your definitions of masculinity can become particles of toxic masculinity? That's my question. What do you see in your definition?
Can I go first?
Yes, you may. And answer my question, not the one that you want to answer. Answer the question of what do you see in your definition of manhood attributes to toxic masculinity, because you said a man does not cry, a man doesn't complain, a man does what he has to do. But what happens when that man breaks because the whole world is on his back and he has to do it on his own?
Okay, maybe you didn't get me right.
Well, I'm going by what you said.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to get to that.
Okay.
So I said a man doesn't cry, not physically. Actually, we physically cry. We face the pain. But what I meant is that we swallow, we take it in. We take everything, every nonsense that comes on our way. We have to take it in. And
why?
In this generation.
Why?
Now, according to where I am right now, the United States, you're gonna take it in no matter what. If you don't take it in, you're good. Trust me, you gotta take it in.
How do you take it in? Let's pretend that I'm a 13-year-old boy, and I want to know, how do I take all of the crap in? How do you do that? And then how do you detox from that?
I'm glad you're asking that.
Because I'm a great questioner.
You're a woman, yeah. You don't know that. So let me answer that question. So for me as a man, I've been taking in all this, not because I cannot, but as a man we can always hold to challenges. You can never know as a woman, but a fellow man can understand this.
What have you taken in?
Where he's speaking as a boy. I beg to.
Then let him finish. You're going to. A man knows his turn. A man knows when it's his turn. Yes.
I've been trying to.
I feel like
I've been trying to slide away from.
No.
I don't want to argue with you.
No.
But I think it's
because you are speaking like a boy.
Okay.
Well, then a man lets a boy grow into a man.
Okay.
Jingo, you're waking up a sleeping lion. It doesn't want to wake up, but you're trying to wake it up. Okay.
But wake up, Zukuka.
Jingo, let me first get to this.
I'm the host of the show, so I'm running this show.
I beg to say something.
I'm running the show, yes, but you'll take your turn. What have you taken in? Because you said you, as a man here in the U.S., what specifically have you taken in?
Okay. not only me, but I'll speak for
you speak for yourself. You're the only one sitting in this chair. You're the only one sitting in this chair. What have you taken in?
Okay. I've taken in a lot. Mm-hmm. Now I'll give, for example, when I had just come here, I was kicked out of the house the next week after coming here by my mother. And if I was a woman, it would be a different case. But as a man, I had to keep going.
What case would that have been?
Like, you know, America changes people, you know. We have parents here when we're back there. We have parents here that have been staying here forever. So when we join them, they feel like we're kind of different from them. We're kind of different from their other kids. They try to to show this kind of energy that we don't belong here, right? So we take in a lot. And I took in that, and I was kicked out of the house. But today she's proud of me. She's looking for me everywhere I go, cause I'm a man.
So I want to make sure I understood what you said. So your parents came here to the States before you did.
My mom came here before.
Your mom came before you did, and then you met her here.
Yeah.
And a week after you arrived, she put you out of the house.
Kicked me out.
She kicked you out of the house.
I'm 20.
You were 20?
Yeah.
Okay, so she kicked her 20-year-old child out of the house who had just come to this country, and you didn't know. You're still.
I didn't know anybody.
You didn't know anybody.
And I reported the police. The police was like, "Bro, you're 20. Just
Got
move on, man." Sorry.
Yes. So now that makes that. I can hear that was traumatic for you. That's
so
trauma.
Too much. Yeah,
That's trauma. And to receive that from it'd be one thing to receive that from a complete stranger, but to receive that from your mother, that's a different kind of pain that you would have received than you would have received from a stranger. So that's trauma, that's heartache, yeah? And so for you to share that, first of all, thank you for sharing that. Because like
thank you.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that, because you have a lot to share, yes, but that kind of trauma and you're taking it in, had that not happened to you, would you still consider yourself a man? Had she received you and you stayed there until you're ready to leave, would you still consider yourself a man?
I definitely consider myself a man from day one, because not only here, even back in Uganda, I raised myself from 10 years. And I've been taking in everything. So whatever's going on in my life, I actually appreciate everything.
And you power through
it. When I go through, because the reason why I'm still single, the reason why, because the reason why from this kind of life, number one, I don't want to have how do they call this? Kids.
You don't want to take responsibility.
Listen.
Yeah, you fear to.
No, you don't want to. Go on.
The reason why I'm still single, I don't want to have kids being raised by only one parent.
You don't want to be a single parent.
I might be kicked out.
That's no point. That is no point. That is no point. That shows.
Can you first listen to this?
Go on.
The point I'm coming to is, as a man,
socialism. Actually,
as a man,
it's like this.
The thing. You know what's happening in America? Where there are a lot of single parents.
Yes.
Men are living on their own.
Yes.
Just sending money to these families, but they don't know what is going on.
So you want to say that people should not marry because they fear to be single parents? Is that what you want to tell the people?
That's what I'm saying.
That's no point. That's no point.
That's no one.
I beg to take over. I beg to take over.
Because
we cannot leave a boy to derail people. We are being derailed from the right point.
You know what I'm saying is That's why, you know, that in the very beginning of the show, I was like, you gotta get ready for your responsibility. This is the point that I'm trying to bring in, that most men that you call men,
no boys.
For me, those are the ones I call boys. They go on now like, I look good, right? I'll go out there chase every girl.
Oh, come on.
So these are the boys we're talking about. As a man, number one, take care of yourself.
No, Jesus.
In general, by that
I'm
way.
being killed up here. May I say something about that? How do you determine your looks to make yourself a man? It doesn't matter. How do I look?
Okay, I'm telling you this because in America, listen to me. We eat a lot of junk food. So if you don't take care of yourself, bro, you're gonna die sooner. You take care of yourself to live longer, to be ready for any challenge. If you don't do that, you're gonna. Bro,
so for you, it's living longer. So for him, it's preparation.
Get prepared for
it's preparation.
For me, according to my lifestyle, according to
you are becoming his counsel.
According to
you're becoming his counsel.
I'm coming for you as well. I'm coming for you as well.
According to my
socialism here,
it's not about socialism. No, it's not about socialism. I'm talking according to my past. I know he's banning, but I'm also going to interrupt him. According to my past, you know why I'm not making up? Because he's interrupting me. I keep on forgetting my point.
Wrap it up.
I went to my past.
Boys.
That's why I'm like, you're gonna get ready for the future. You don't want to just bump into it. That's not being a man.
Prepare for it.
Prepare for challenges that comes in the future that you see on the way. Now, I was doing Uber and I got a lot of clients saying, "Hey, are you married or something?" I'm like, "I'm not." They're like, just take your time and find the right person, other than bumping into a beautiful girl and all that thing. That's good. That's not being a man. And don't bump into bills that you're not even ready for. Now, Jingo, you want to go to the gym. You're not ready for the gym. And that's another bill. That means you're not a man. You're not a man.
Oh my God! This is too much. May I take over, please? I beg to take over.
You can respond.
I kindly ask you to ask him to keep quiet and listen to the pro speak.
Please be quiet and
Thank you so much, ma'am. Now, I want to first talk about crying. A real man cries, but how does he do it? We all cry. Even presidents cry, but they don't cry in public. You are hurt. You keep it to yourself, then go back to your room and cry. You don't show people that you are crying. You come back and laugh, but you are crying inside.
Why?
Many people outside there are crying, but they never show. Why? Because they are real men. They are nurtured. They are made. They are bred. Do you know what brings about
that's toxic masculinity?
Huh?
Some people said that that's toxic masculinity too.
Cry is not weakness, actually. Cry is
it's not, but
relieving this.
It's cathartic.
This feeling.
Actually,
what's the purpose of hiding behind? Yes. What's the purpose of hiding of crying behind closed doors?
Okay, because as a man, we are created to be leaders. We are created to be the head of everywhere, the home, the house, the state. Now just imagine seeing Joe Biden crying in front of the paparazzi. And he cried, Iraq is hitting us so badly. He's not a president. What he does?
Cried.
Oh, that was too much for him.
No,
that was too much for him.
Do you know when he
must
cried?
Have been too much.
Do you remember when he cried? He cried when the shooting at that school in was it Connecticut? No, was it New Hampshire? When that whole school was shot out.
Oh yes, that was too much.
He cried.
That was overwhelming, really.
Yes,
more than overwhelming. Now the point he was raising wasn't overwhelming on anybody's head. Wasn't overwhelming, and killing people is just too much. I was seeing people dying here of COVID. Nobody you can blame of bringing COVID or having COVID, but I saw people dying, and you cannot hesitate to cry. You cannot keep it back. So if Obama cried in public, it was more than overwhelming on him. As a leader, America leads the entire world. So America to be facing such a thing. It was too big for a president, so I would cry as well.
Yeah.
I cry.
Yeah.
I cry. Crying is good.
Now,
because when you cry, you release the anger. You release what you would have done. That's why you see people still going to the top of the very tall buildings, skyscrapers, then hit themselves down because they didn't get that chance of crying. My father told me one time, he said, whenever you are angry, don't say nothing. Keep quiet. Leave it at the way it is. Go back. Just cover yourself in a pillow and cry. It is a good therapy for yourself. So a crying man is a real man, but not in public. And in an African setting, they do not even allow you even to cry, not even in your pillow. That's not good at all.
Yeah.
But scientifically, crying is a therapy.
Yes.
You just said it right here.
Yeah.
So I just want to put that right, that crying, it doesn't subtract anything for you as a man. Actually, it adds on you, because when you cry, you just go back and say, so where did I go wrong? That means A, B, C, D. How do I go about this? Let me do this. Let me pull out on this. Let me go this. There's what the way they call an alibi. An alibi is taking one step behind so that it propels you to go 7 steps ahead.
Yeah.
It's called an alibi. Okay? So when you go and cry, it's almost an alibi because you are taking one step behind, so that you look into yourself and say, where did I go wrong? Why did this happen? So you can go 7 steps in front. That's what makes a man. But you cannot tell people that you can do. I cry. I personally cry. I am a father of 5, and I'm proud of it, with a very beautiful wife, and I've been there for them all the time. And very difficult times when I didn't have even $1 on my account, and they would go to school. First day of the school, they would be at school. That's what makes a man. Now, why am I saying that we are 2 separate entities? He's on a different island, like I am, where I am. He's speaking for somebody who wants to have these good looks, good wares, and I call those boys because yes, they could refer to themselves as men because by virtue of sex, they are men. Their testosterone gave them that hormone that gives them to look like men. But in the mind, the ability to do, you are still a boy. Until you get someone besides you who is saying, Ezakameza ziriwa, omwana arwadde, I am pregnant. I have to go for medical checkup. What do you call that? Prenatal something.
Prenatal care.
The prenatal care. Until you go through that, and you don't have any pen on you, but you have to still understand this woman. There is nothing as hard as marriage as an institution. It's so hard. 2 people from different backgrounds come to meet, and they make a family. That's a challenge big enough to make you a man.
Can I say something?
You may. Yes.
Like I said, being a man, like he said, he was like, it's not about making yourself look beautiful and look good and all that. I think, like I said, taking care of another person with the outcomes and all that, you're gonna have to take care of yourself first. If you can't take care of yourself, then how are you gonna take care of the other person?
Yeah, you're right, of course.
Definitely. So if I'm taking care of myself first, it doesn't matter about the look, but what matters is, am I able to take care of myself? Then the other person, if that person comes in my life, I'll be able to take care of this person. But if this person comes in my life,
and you're not ready,
and I'm not ready, and I'm still taking care of myself, that means it's gonna be a big challenge. Then that means you're half a man.
I think a real man becomes a sacrifice to at the expense of the people around him. Be it your father, be it your mother, okay, your parents.
You said he becomes a sacrifice?
A sacrifice. Yes, you sacrifice yourself for the others. Like if you don't have a woman, you're not married, you don't have a girlfriend or a woman, a wife, then you have your fathers. Okay? So your parents, the mother and the father. You can even help your siblings as well if you have the ability to. Okay? Now you sacrifice yourself and say, okay, if I instead of going to Target and buy so much trousers and these fancy shoes and all that, maybe let me give my father $100 for Christmas. Maybe my mom wants to go to hospital. You sacrifice yourself. So a real man sacrifices himself at the expense of others. That is taking responsibility. But most men hate responsibility.
Because that's what it will cost them.
Of course, of course, of course. But when you accept that cost, that's when you become a man.
Here's my next question. Clearly, both of you came into your manhood out before you came here to the States.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. Have you noticed any impact that being in the diaspora has on your manhood? There is masculinity on the continent in Uganda, and then there's masculinity in Worcester. How has being out here in the diaspora altered that? How you function in your family, being here versus back home? I'm going to start with you.
Why don't you start with the legend?
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for passing the baton.
I love it to start.
Yes. So you're sure, like, how was it when you were in Uganda, and how has it changed being here?
Now, I'll start with what everybody knows, because when you come to the States, however big you are, you go back to level 1.
Yeah.
You have to establish yourself in the States. Okay. People, the government must know you. You must have a social security number and everything, all that. You know all that stuff.
Yeah.
So that takes you back to 0, however big you are in Uganda. Okay? So that is 1. Now, that's a big impact on anybody's life. Anybody's life. I was looking and I was like, so nobody knows me? So nobody knows I'm here? Oh my God. So what if I died today? How will I go back home? How will my body be transported back? Nobody knows I'm here. It's a big drawback.
Yeah.
Very big. It hits you as a man, as a father. It hit me. I cried so many times. And I was like, I did a wrong thing. Oh my God. Why did I come here? Why did I make this choice? But then deep in me, somebody told, keep going. Never give up. Keep going. It is when things go wrong that you must stick to the fight. Success is failure turned inside out. It is to the hardest point that you must stick to the fight. So I had to get back on my back and say, no, I have to go. My Rodney is waiting for a bread home. He has to go to school. My Renita is waiting for me. Let me go. Let me try. That's how I did that. But it's a very big drawback in so many things. Now, there are challenges I meet as a married man. As a married man, there are needs of a man that I would like to have, like I was in Uganda. I was sleeping with my wife in the same room. Now I'm alone in a bed with this winter and all that cold thing. It's so challenging.
Yeah.
Okay, but you have to keep strong and keep going. Say, Lord, thank you for this moment. I didn't know I would find winter and see myself, but I'm seeing winter myself. So I need to go, and I'm still going, and I'll go, and I'll go.
Yeah. Okay,
that makes a man. There are those things that really get to the nerve, and you say, there are some beautiful girls that look at me and say, oh, and I'm like, okay, thank God I've seen you. I have to go on. Okay, that makes a man. Then there are those sacrifices when you have just a few dollars by yourself, but somebody it is Christmas time, it is Easter time, and you have to say, now, what about my bills, and what about home, what about my parents, and, what about the house, what about the car I'm driving here, what about that? So okay, I'll eat small, let me give 75 to the rest. That is sacrificing. That's why I said there is a difference between what he's talking about and what I am talking. We are two separate entities. A boy who wants to look good in public and have his social working, he works out, he eats good, he gets whatever he wants at the time it is supposed to come, and somebody who gets and says, I have to share not even half but 75%, sometimes 95%, and sacrifice for the people. I am the heir to my father. That means I have two families. I have my own family, but I have another family. My father said, Paul, stay with your siblings. I take care of them. Small though, but I try.
Yeah.
I try. That makes a man. I would say, let them take care of themselves. My father died. It is their responsibility to do that. My wife, I would tell her, darling, you know what? I came here to find life. Because there is life here. I know I sacrifice and say no. Let me give my Rita this. Let me give my Rita this. That makes a man. So I say, the way he's arguing his point, he's talking to a boy who has not seen it all. I have seen it all.
I would say that what I'm hearing you say is that for you, when you came to the States, there was, first of all, the culture shock and the loneliness from being away and apart from your family, such that you began to even question your choice. Did I do this for the right reasons? You begin to question yourself. You begin to doubt what had you taken.
Self-esteem went.
Your self-esteem disappears.
Yes.
Yeah. And then you have to begin to lean onto what was ingrained in you.
Exactly.
This is what I'm hearing you say.
That's when the upbringing comes in.
It kicks in.
Yes, I could hear my father's voice. Keep going.
Yes.
Never
but
give
prior to this, would you say that the challenges that you faced in Uganda to your manhood, to your masculinity, were not as hard as being here?
No. Yeah. Because in Uganda, things are different. There are no taxes, these big taxes. And you know, in Uganda, if I wanted to buy something, I'll just call my sister and say, Rebecca, you know what? I have a prayer challenge here. But here in the States, who are you going to call?
Yeah.
Everybody's like, Paul, we are like you. We came here to look for dollars. We don't have. We don't have. Whoever you call, Paul, style up. This is America. And that's when I learned that saying, the slogan, this is America. Oh yeah, somebody told me so.
Yeah.
What are you talking about? This is America. So I was like, all right, now I know. I have to go everything by myself.
Yeah.
So that's it.
So
that's sacrificing.
Would you say that parenthood and fatherhood is easier in Uganda than it is here?
Oh yeah, very much so. Very much so. I'm telling you. And let me tell you the truth. If it wasn't for, having my children, I would like them to come here. But on the bigger side, I would not want to have them come here. I don't want the culture here. People are poorly bred here. Children are poorly bred here, I'm telling you. They don't have culture. We think we have to behave like Americans. I hate it. I am a Ugandan. I might have gone away from here. Somebody would say, well, okay, if you're Uganda, why did you run away? Yes, but it does not cut away from who I am. My norms, my etiquettes, my tradition, my culture. Yes, I don't want to see my children. A child raises a hand to slap a mother. How dare you? Because I'll call the police. A child can call a police on me, and I'm raising you. Hell.
Yeah.
No way.
I think
I hate it.
I think the same challenge that was not even challenge, but the same pressure that was applied to your manhood and masculinity when you came here, and also the way that you were cultured, gave rise to who you are being here and now. Is it possible that the same pressure being applied to your family when they come, if they do come, that what you have ingrained in them shows up beautifully in the face of that culture that is already in them? Do you see what I'm saying?
Trust me.
Because we've seen kids who shot their parents in the bed. Grown kids, the Menendez brothers, in the, I think 80s or 80s, 90s, shot both their parents while they were in bed.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. We've also seen kids who, who abuse their parents.
Oh yeah.
But it's
too much.
Oftentimes it's the leniency of the parents on the children.
We're in America.
You guys are forgetting about me.
No, we're not forgetting about you. Now that the attention is not on your pretty self, you're feeling you're in your feelings because you want to be on the camera so girls can see you. Got it.
Okay.
He wants to be. It's okay.
That gentleman might bewitch me.
No, he's not going to bewitch. No. But
give him a chance to speak.
He's going to speak. He's going to speak. And the question, the question is, the question will coming to you.
I'm asking the same question.
You answer the same question. Just to remind you, has being here in the diaspora altered or changed in any way, shape, or form your relationship to your masculinity since being here, or your manhood since being here? Yeah, that's the question. Yeah. But I wanted to finish what I was saying to you, that it's possible, given who you are and what you've had to pass through, that the pressure that was applied to you when you came here, that was applied to your marriage and your parenting, and gave rise to who you are now,
contributed some.
Absolutely, and would be also the same pressure applied to your children when they get here, that they have to now fight for that. No, I'm an African. Yeah. I'm Ugandan.
Yes, I've nurtured them.
You've nurtured it.
I've nurtured
but it has not been challenged.
Oh yeah, no, not yet.
It has not been challenged.
No, not yet.
So yes, so that's what there is to look forward to for your family. That
God.
Yes, you have to pass through that fire to be refined. I shouldn't imagine
when my son is raising a hand against me.
Why would he raise a hand against you when you've put it in his heart to honor you?
Definitely.
So it sounds to me like there's your parenting also has to go through another fire when they come.
Sure.
It has to.
And when they come here,
yes,
it's another school, home. First 3 months lecture.
Got it. So now, how has your masculinity altered or changed since being here?
Okay, for me as one, I'll start by. I'm gonna support him like 2%. He has explained really good, though he has taken forever. So he's right. He's right. So according to the states and Uganda is totally a different world. Actually, Africa is a different world to the states, whereby the states, I don't think you can practice your being a man here. Either way, if you put in much effort to be who you are as an African man.
What does that look like?
Okay.
What do you mean?
Okay, the thing is, I've never had a family, but I've been seeing this happening on both sides because I was raised from Africa.
Yeah.
So America is different, totally different. Whereby in Africa, like he says, in here, kids can beat their parents, can beat up their parents, and their parents can't do anything. One day I saw this little boy. He was even 1 year, one or something years, but very little.
Toddler. Mm-hmm.
He was beating up his mother, and his mother was doing nothing. Because the police would come for this lady. Mm-hmm. And as an African man, I was touched by that. But all the American people around, they were just video recording. You feel me? Mm-hmm. So these are different cultures. There are reasons why America is on the other side from Africa. Africa were raised differently. According to what I see, American men are somehow different from African men.
How are they different?
American men, they can easily let it go. They can make children, make kids, and then they let it go. They go mind their business as long as they pay child support.
Can I interfere just a little bit?
He asked for non-interference.
I asked for that, bro.
All right. So.
Legend.
Go on.
Mm-hmm. So they can have kids and then they let it go as long as they pay child support.
Yeah.
But an African man can never let it go.
Oh, exactly.
We always keep in touch, and even if we gonna pay child support, we always demand to have our kids in our household. However, the government, if the woman is this kind of woman who doesn't want to do with you, you get heartbroken all the time as a man. But an American man, we just let it go and have kids somewhere else with somebody. So what I'm saying is, Africa is different from American men.
So answer the question.
And the question is, I've answered it.
You have not. I asked you, how has your masculinity, how has your relationship to your definition of manhood altered since, if at all, since you're being here in the States? What was life like as a man for you
Africa,
in Uganda? Not Africa, Uganda.
Okay, Uganda, because some people don't understand Uganda.
You have to distinguish here. Uganda is a country and Africa is a continent.
Uganda.
So how was being a man in Uganda different for you than being a man here in the States?
Uganda, according to me, Uganda was kind of easy than the United States. United States.
What could you do in Uganda that you can't do here?
Well, here I know everything is possible, but everything is possible when you're in the straight path. But everything can disappear in just a blink of an eye.
Nguzi.
In Uganda, you can make your life as long as you make some good money like we make in the States. You can flow with that perfect life forever. But in America, it's different. In America, as long as you mess it up or somehow, it's gone. You're on the streets. You got no house. Whereby in Africa, you can have your small house on your land. Where can you buy land here? If you're not, even if you're in the government, where can you buy land here? Nowhere. Well, for me as one, I think Africa, Uganda was the best. If you have money, Uganda's the best. In America, if you have money, yes, you're gonna live good, but hey, if it's no more, you're done. And we always have challenges, and challenges sometimes.
So what were you doing in Uganda before you came?
In Uganda, I never had a job. I was just going to school.
You were a student.
You see,
okay.
That's what I was going to say. He's now more of a boy than what he was in Uganda. He's growing, getting down.
So you're more. You were a student in Uganda, and then you probably graduated before you came. Yes. Okay. So then now you're in the workforce.
Yes.
Right. Yeah. So.
But it doesn't mean that even if I was going to school, it doesn't mean I wouldn't work.
Of course.
Like,
students
as a university child, as a student, have anything to do with
don't usually work.
But if life is hard, you're gonna find something to do.
That's right.
For a living.
That's right.
So for me as one, I was kind of blessed. There was some money. It's not much, but there was some money for me to go to school, not to have life.
Yeah.
To go to school.
That's right.
And I accepted the school life because some students, some men who are raised like me, they can fail to go to school because they have everything available. But I chose to do that.
Yeah.
As a man, I chose to do that. If I was a boy, I would just let it go for the money that was available.
Yeah.
So
I'm still paying for my children. That's why I call them boys, because I know they got school.
Today, no one's paying for me. No one's paying for everything that I pay for.
That does not qualify you as a man.
And I'm going to school as well, and I'm still going to school, so I'm paying for it.
So it sounds you're both on the same spectrum, just opposite ends on the different portions of that spectrum. Because an 80-year-old man can look at you and say that you're still a boy. An 89-year-old man can still say that. Yes, can look at you and say, "Oh, this one is still a young boy."
Do you remember what I told you? That you can be 89 or 90, but still a boy.
Yes, but an 89-year-old man can look at you and say, this one is still a boy. Just like how on the trajectory of manhood, you can look at him and see where he is and say that he's still a boy, simply because he's not where you are. Just like how you wouldn't be where a 95-year-old grown Jaja is, right, who's taking care of everybody. So it sounds to me like it's a continuum. Manhood is a continuum, like womanhood is a continuum. Yeah? Okay.
I admit.
Very good.
However, I'm still saying that civil do not intoxicate people by saying, "May I see you as a boy." Whatever you said, I'll end by saying, He is a boy. He has not seen it all. But you want to learn, come to the pro. I'll teach you how to become a man. I'm telling you, I'm going to build you from A to Z. Oh, you have the looks. You have the money, you have the looks, you have everything, but you are not a man yet. You are still a boy.
She already talked about that. For you as well, you see me as a, you know why I call him a legend?
Why is he a legend?
Because even when I was still a baby, I was watching this kid, this guy.
But he was 7, and I was only 3. You can imagine. I was already 7 years, and I was 3. And he says, yes, he was still a boy, but I was a baby. I started at 3, and he was already 7 watching me. And one time we were conversing, he said, omwana ono chisekanga afudde. I was like, woyitira omwana chiseka n'omuyita omwana bana.
I want to say thank you to the both of you for being guests to our show, for the conversation, and for the dialogue, and for sharing yourselves, your journeys on your path of manhood.
Can I ask him just
yes.
It's a little personal. It goes straight to him.
Okay.
Were you trying to be rather truculent or insolent when it's personal, when your mother said get out of the house? Were you trying to beat him or something like that, like an ill-bred boy?
I'm an African-raised boy.
So you slapped your mother?
I don't do that. I respected him, I respected her, and moved up.
No. What happened before?
What happened before? Like,
because I can see you are here, you want to behave the G style, the wannabes, and then you are raising a hand up against your mother. Of course, I would also say, get out.
I've been here 10 years, but
I'm asking what happened then. I'm asking what this is out of record. This is out of record.
Okay.
Without her, what happened when she said get out? What happened prior to that?
Can we wrap up the show so we can do this offline? Join us in next week when we come back for another episode of Free and Feminine. Again, my name is Judith Nasamba Bukenya. Have a good evening.